Padre Pio is also known for amazing miracles. One was a woman who was born without pupils, and she came to Padre Pio. Her mother brought her when she was just a little girl after Mass. And like Jesus, Padre Pio rubbed her eyes. This woman, named Gemma di Giorgi, regained her sight, and she's alive today. But here's the amazing thing. Yes, why it's quite miraculous that she regained her sight and can now see. What is even more startling is that she still doesn't have any pupils. How can she see without any pupils in her eyes? Well, ask Padre Pio, or better yet, ask God who used Padre Pio to heal her. In another story, do you remember C. Everett Koop, the former U.S. Surgeon General under President Reagan in the 1980s? Well, back in 1966, he was a doctor in the case of little Vera Marie Calandra, and she was born with a congenital kidney condition. And after several surgeries, Dr. Koop had to remove the poor little girl's bladder and told her parents that she would undoubtedly die very soon. Now, strong in her faith, her mother, having heard of Padre Pio and his healing miracles, took the girl to San Giovanni Rotondo, where they met the priest. He blessed her and placed his stigmatic hands on her. And when they returned home, to Dr. Koop's shocking amazement, he discovered inside the child was growing a new bladder to replace the old one. Now, this just doesn't happen. Bladders don't grow. She was completely recovered. Now, then there is my favorite miracle of any saint, the one they call the flying monk, or I guess again, as I said, we should call the flying friar. The story goes back in World War II when he was a monk there in San Giovanni Rotondo. The Germans had taken over the area and they had taken possession of the monastery. And reports were that they had some ammunition and some material there and some resources. So the Allied bombers, American and other bombers, went to try to destroy this location. It was a German stronghold. But every time the planes went up into the air, the planes were forced to turn around, even though the pilots couldn't control it, by a flying monk. Every time they tried to drop their bombs, it wouldn't work because of this flying monk. And all the pilots who came back, they were not wanting to tell each other the story because they were afraid they would be called crazy. So finally, after the war, one of the generals, who still was perplexed by this, wanted to solve the mystery. So he got a bunch of the pilots together. Here you can see their pictures. And they went to the monastery trying to figure out who this monk was because they got rumors that there was some special monk living in the monastery. And as soon as they got there, lo and behold, who did they all see? Padre Pio. And immediately they pointed to him and all the pilots knew this was the monk. That monk, surprisingly, protected that monastery and no harm was done to it.